Good afternoon. I thank all the attendees for taking out time to join us in today's presentation. I welcome you all to another webinar from MTBC and our quest to continue educating our providers and our clients. This webinar is going to educate our providers about the ICD10 program in detail. What exactly are the changes they will come across, how the new diagnosis codes will look like, and how the providers can check their practice readiness for ICD10 transition. Because if we say the time is running out fast, we won't be wrong. It actually is. So let me just first begin by introducing myself. My name is Athar Maqsood. I will be moderating this session. I'm one of the industry specialists here at MTBC. Now, before I start or get into the details, let me first begin by telling you that all the participants of this webinar have joined us by using GoToWebinar service. You can see a GoToWebinar panel on the right-hand side of your screen. If you want to minimize the panel or get it out of the way, you can do that anytime by using the orange arrow that's pointing towards the right corner of the screen. This will allow you to minimize the panel and get a much wider look towards all the slides. Now, this webinar has been scheduled for 30 minutes. So if you do come across any questions that you would like to ask, do not hesitate and feel free to ask as much questions as possible. There is a question section available on GoToWebinar service. This service does allow you to ask questions. All you need to do is you just have to open up the question section, type your question, and submit it. And we will try our best to answer all the questions at the end of the session when there will be time for question and answers. Or in case if we would be unable to answer all the questions that will be asked during this webinar, we will be reaching back to you by email. Now, just a quick refresher about MTBC before I start. MTBC was founded back in 1999 and is currently serving 60 medical unique specialties in 42 different states across the country. We have 2,000 plus employees with 24/7 operations. That allows 24/7 technical support as well for all the products and services that we offer. We are ranked among the Deloitte Technology Fast 500, and we are ranked 500 over 5,000 company. We have 3 international offices, and we are a SureScript certified solutions provider. MTBC is also listed on NASDAQ. Now let's have a look on the synopsis of webinar. These are the points that we will be discussing today in this session. First of all, I'm going to provide you with the detailed overview of ICD10 program, so you will have a clear picture in your mind what exactly are we dealing with. I will be highlighting the comparisons between ICD9 clinical modification and ICD10 clinical modification. We will be talking about the ICD10 format and its structure. And in addition to that, we will be discussing about the ICD10 timeline. All the myths about ICD10, the benefits, and the challenges that the providers will have to come across will be discussed during this session. I will be focusing on the usage of paper superbills for the ICD10 project. And I'm also going to discuss about MTBC ICD10 transition planning checklist and MTBC ICD10 readiness. Last but not least, we will be also helping our providers in identifying ICD10 training needs, and of course about the MTBC training and coaching sessions that we will be conducting over here. Now, talking about ICD10 program in detail, ICD10 is the 10th revision of the International Statistical Classification of Diseases and Related Health Problems, a medical classification list by the World Health Organization. It codes for diseases, signs and symptoms, abnormal findings, complaints, social circumstances, and external causes or the injury of diseases. ICD10 provides more specificity with the coding and increasing available codes from 25,000 in ICD9 to 140,000 in ICD10. The deadline for the United States to begin using clinical modification ICD10, as you all know, is October 1st, 2015. The deadline was previously October 1st, 2014, but a relaxation time frame was given to all the providers so they can understand and become familiar to the program before they start using it. All HIPAA covered entities must make the change within this time period. Practices should check with their EHR vendors to make sure they understand the data storage requirements for the new code set. They need to seek online training available through association websites and software-based instruction. And they need to invest in additional technologies such as patient kiosks to boost productivity. And obviously, after October 1st, every ICD-9 code will be replaced by ICD-10 diagnosis code. So that is pretty much understandable itself. Now moving forward, let's just compare the ICD-9 with the ICD-10 clinical modification. In ICD-9, the diagnosis codes are 3 to 5 numeric characters, whereas if we talk about ICD-10, there are 3 to 7 digit alphanumeric characters. So there is a difference right there and then. There are approximately 14,000 codes in ICD-9, but keeping ICD-10 in mind, we are straight away talking about 69,000 plus new codes. The ICD-9 diagnosis codes are not quite explanatory and lack detail, therefore the providers need to add modifiers to them. But comparing that to ICD-10, the diagnosis codes themselves are very specific and instructive. So that means the providers do not need to add any sort of modifiers to the ICD-10 diagnosis code. ICD-9 also lacks laterality compared to ICD-10 that has laterality. And in ICD-9, it was quite difficult to analyze data, but in the upcoming ICD-10, there is specificity, which improves analysis for the data analyzing. Moreover, ICD-9 has limited space and do not allow to add new codes, whereas in ICD-10, there is a flexibility to add up the new codes. Now, let's just have a look on the ICD-10 coding format in order to understand how the new codes will look like and how the codes have been put up together. The first character of the ICD-10 diagnosis code will always be an alphabet. It will always be an alpha. The second character will always be a numeric. The remaining 3 to 7 digit characters can be alpha or it can be numeric. And there is another rule that has been added to ICD-10 diagnosis code. Decimal needs to be placed after the first 3 characters. That means you cannot place the decimal wherever you want to. It has to be placed after the first 3 characters. The letter X is used as a dummy 5th character placeholder. For example, as you can see on your screens at this point of time, there is an ICD-10 diagnosis code mentioned that is T36.0X1A. As you can see, the first character is the alphabet, the second is the numeric, and the decimal is placed after the first 3 characters. Now, this is a diagnosis code for initial encounter for accidental poisoning by penicillin. Now, moving forward towards the structure for the ICD-10 diagnosis codes. The structure of ICD-10 clinical modification contains 7 positions instead of 5, which was in ICD-9 case. ICD-9 codes are numerical codes, and ICD-10 codes are alphanumerical codes, as I've just explained you, for the increased specificity of diagnosis. The basic structure of the ICD-10 code is the first 3 characters represent the category of disease. The 4th character depicts the etiology, that is the causes and origin of the disease. The 5th character in the ICD-10 diagnosis code portrays the body part that has been affected. And similarly, the 6th character shows the severeness of illness. And the last and final character, that is the 7th one, is actually a placeholder for extension of the code to increase the specificity. For this transition of ICD-10, new tested software must be installed and medical practices should provide training for physicians, their staff members, and the administrative staff. So here's the hot news. ICD-10 is just less than 5 months away. The question that I want to ask over here is, are you ready for the big change? Now this slide over here shows 4 quarters of the calendar year 2015. We are currently in the 2nd quarter of this year, and the go live date for ICD-10 is October 1st, 2015, which is the first day of the 4th quarter. That is less than 5 months away, folks. So before October 1st, all claims must contain ICD-9 codes, but after October 1st, that's not going to be the situation anymore. The claims need to have ICD-10 codes going forward after October 1st. And if the provider decides to put in ICD-10 codes while submission of the claims prior to October, the insurance companies are not going to accept it. And in the same manner, if the provider continues to put in ICD-9 codes even after October 1st, that's the implementation date or the go-live date for ICD-10, insurances will not be entertaining them. Now let's just talk about the myths about ICD-10. Some may think that the compliance date October 1st, 2015 will not really happen and it will be delayed again. Well, you never know, but as per our knowledge, the chances of that happening are very slim. And as the CMS did provide enough time for the providers to get prepared and to get ready with the program, so that's not likely going to happen. Providers need to practice an IT exercise to expand the data fields is also one of the myths that we came across for ICD-10. And some also believe that just a change in course, it is just a change in course that will have a slight influence on the business progressions. And according to them, no effect on revenue generation will happen. Only coders and health information managers need to worry about it. But as per our perception, that is not completely correct, as the providers are the ones who will be putting in the diagnosis codes within the claims themselves. And if by mistake or due to a human error, they have entered the wrong diagnosis code, it can result in the denial of the claim. And some also believe that only a limited training will be sufficient. Now, moving forward, let us just underline some of the benefits of ICD-10 and how ICD-10 is going to be beneficial for the providers. Now, first of all, ICD-10 also reduces number of codes needed to fully describe a condition, as it creates a combination diagnosis or symptom codes. ICD-10 do allow more specificity due to the increased number of categories and codes, as it adds more detail on the claim form, first of all. Secondly, it enhances more accuracy in coding diagnostic procedures. And lastly, it will improve mortality codes, that is the cause of death, as well as it will expand the injury codes. Now, this program will likewise help the performance measures, medical coder reduction, public health reporting, cost analysis, and reimbursement. Now let us just have a look at some of the challenges that the providers would have to face regarding the ICD-10 program. Now first of all, I would like to discuss overcoming the perception that transitioning to ICD-10 is only a coding issue and the need to plan accordingly. Let me just assure you that ICD-10 is a business issue that touches your revenue cycle, medical peer integration, contracts, and systems, and will require widespread preparedness. You do need to understand that the documentation requirements are greater under ICD-10 as it was under ICD-9, and besides that, vendor and peer readiness plan and implementation is also considered as one of the major challenges that the providers will encounter. That means when they will go live with the updates to allow testing. Now, for all the providers who are still planning to continue using Superbill as a billing source, you may want to realize some of the following challenges. Now, the first challenge, or challenge number one, that you will have to face is that if you still use paper Superbill, you need to determine how many pages the new ICD10 Superbill will be formed from the map top 50 ICD9 codes. There is an easier solution for that. MTBC offers standard diagnostic tools in the WebEHR and PM system, that is the practice management system, that can accommodate as many ICD10 codes and the practice would like to include for charge capture. The second challenge will be, most likely, it will be more difficult for the physicians and staff to use a paper Superbill that is more than 8 to 10 pages for the only top 50 ICD9 codes. The solution for that is our products that has been designed for the providers would have dual coding functionality, which will enable user to use their ICD10 readiness and ICD10 codes. The third challenge can be using irrelevant or incorrect code on paper Superbill will lead to more denial and errors. Now, the solution for that is with our mapping tool, you would be able to avoid any sort of denials or any errors that you are coming across. And last but not least, the fourth challenge that the Superbill users will come across would be that they would have to scan 8 to 10 pages long Superbill for the claim submission. And there is a pretty much easier solution for that. Is that you can just start using our system and submit the claims electronically. Now, swiftly moving forward, let us just discuss about the MTBC ICD10 transition planning checklist. Now, as a practice, you need to design your workflow by keeping a track and following all the updates from the CMS and commercial payers on ICD10. You also need to identify that workflows or tasks need to change at your practice, including the system upgrading, the quality reporting, and etc. And as far as conversion to ICD10 is concerned, you would need to educate your clinical staff, including the referring physicians, as I've discussed earlier, the front desk staff, management staff, and other key areas that may use or report ICD10 codes. You may also need to design a training manual that includes ICD10 coding scenarios for your specific specialty that coders and physicians can use on an ongoing basis that will be a great help for the ICD10 transition. And as per the awareness related to ICD10 is concerned, you need to be aware of MTBC's system upgrade and have training on the new system. MTBC has a team of dedicated ICD10 coaches who will provide you with the system training. You can even share your updates about industry readiness with your staff members. And on the top of that, you can discuss with your vendors about the readiness preparation in order to be aware of ICD10 program. Now, talking about MTBC, it is ready and fully prepared to entertain its providers, its clients for the ICD10 project. Now, to effectively meet the compliance deadline, we have already successfully tested and implemented ICD10 code set with the major commercial and governmental payers and the clearing houses such as Medicare, covering 70% of healthcare claims volume. We have our eyes set on compliance deadline and hope to be able to complete testing and implementation with the remaining 30% of the payers before the end of the third quarter of this year. And from the beginning of the third quarter of this year, MTBC will start beta testing with its clients and its peers. And we do have certified ICD-10 medical coders available here at MTBC who will be handling that. Moreover, our system, EHR and PMS, will be capable of dual coding. They will be able to create claims based on ICD-9 code set as well as equivalent ICD-10 code set for the same claims. Through this, the providers will be able to know if they are using the correct ICD-10 codes, and it will also create my list of ICD-10 codes in the system, which will help the providers or help the clients after the go-live date of October 1st. Now, ICD10 Team is also available 24/7 to provide support and educational resources to the providers, and we have a trained operational staff that will be of great help. Now, diagnostic tools on MTBC, PMS, Web EHR, and smart devices allow our physicians and their staff to conveniently enter the claims. With these tools, conversion from ICD-9 clinical modification to ICD-10 clinical modification becomes easier. It provides an option to search either by description or by the code. We have designed built-in ICD-9 to ICD-10 converter in our integrated mHealth applications. This handy time-saving tool includes all the ICD-9 codes and their respective ICD-10 codes. So you can always be sure that you are making the most appropriate code conversion. And as I've told you, beta testing with our clients will be initiated by the Q3 of 2015. So internal ICD-10 testing has been started to ensure proper implementation and refinement of the processes and the policies. Now, everyone using a diagnosis code or documenting clinical information needs to get trained for ICD-10 implementations. Staffs that will need education can be grouped into categories as follows. Number one is clinical staff, including the referring physicians. Then it is about the front office staff and the administrative staff, providers, and other key areas that may use or report ICD-10 codes. And you can train your team by obtaining clinical documentation education, coding education, Web EHR and PMS, that is the practice management system. And last but not least, ICD-10 overview education. Now, let us just have a look at a very useful website sponsored by CMS. It is called www.roadto10.org. Now, roadto10.org is your one-step source for all the things. This is specially designed for small practices to help you jumpstart with the transition of ICD-10. This website can help you check your readiness. On the top of that, this will allow you to evaluate where you initially stand as far as ICD-10 is concerned and what steps you need to take or have already taken to cope up with the ICD-10 program. You can click the Build Your Action Plan link to plan a strategy for your practice. Now, once you click the Build Your Action Plan link, you will be presented with this screen. You can start first by selecting your specialty, practice size, technology, and staffing partners. And after that, trading partners and ICD-10 readiness status. Now, once you have made your selections in the previous slides, this website will present you with your action plan. And this action plan will have a timeline which will provide you with a feasible path for your ICD-10 journey and transition. Now, this action plan is divided into 5 sections that you can just see on your screens. The first one is plan your journey. Then it is about training your team, update your processes, engage your vendors and peers, and you can also test your systems and processes. You can also explore all the sections which further elaborates that section of the action plan. Please note that you can even download or customize your action plan through this website. Now we have a dedicated team here at MTBC who will be assisting our providers in providing them detailed coaching for the ICD10 program, and they will be handling all the queries from the providers or the client's end. And extensive training on an organizational scale is planned and carried out by MTBC in order to equip our workforce with required knowledge and competency. MTBC ICD10 team has already started approaching all of our clients, and they are just helping them out since May 15, 2015. And a series of webinars has launched starting from June 2015, like the one you are just attending right now. And we have a few webinars already available on our website specifically for the specialties like internal medicine and family practices. It also includes the specialties like pediatrics and podiatry. These webinars discuss ICD10 implementation and its effect regarding the medical documentation and coding. If you want to access any of these webinars, you can simply log on to our website, that is www.mtbc.com/webinars.aspx, and you can just get hold of all the webinars that have been conducted in MTBC so far. Now, ICD10 team will provide all the guidance and training required for a smooth transition of our clients from ICD9 to ICD10. And on the top of that, MTBC support staff will be available 24/7 to answer all the queries and provide educational resources related to ICD10 to our providers. You may contact us on 732-873-5133. The extension is 308, and consult one of our health information technology specialists. Now, here are some of the website links that you may access to monitor MTBC's progress, and you will be able to evaluate that what has MTBC done so far for its providers and what it is planning to do in the future as well. The first link that you can see on your screen is www.mtbc.com/resources/ICD-10. That is just going to help you out in evaluating or monitoring MTBC's progress. If you want to download the MTBC converter application that most of the providers do ask about on your Android, Windows, or iPhone device, you can do that by accessing the below website links. The second website link that you can see on your screen at this point of time is for the Android users. The third link that has been displayed is for the Apple users, so they can just download the MTBC converter application on their iPhones. And the last link is for the Windows phone users, if there are any, where they can log on and they can just download the MTBC ICD9 to ICD10 converter application on their mobile devices. Now, moving forward, this slide shows a few more links about the ICD10 information. You can just see on your screen at this point of time, the first website link is from the CMS end, that is www.cms.gov/medicare/coding/ICD10. Similarly, the second link is also helpful in getting the information for the ICD10 program, the ICD10 transition. The third link that you are able to see on your screens at this point of time, we have already discussed about that, is www.roadto10.org. It is one of the phenomenal websites that you're going to find online that is just going to help you out in educating and getting more information about the ICD10 transition. Similarly, if you want to access the other two links that are displayed on your screens, you can do that. Now, let us just go ahead and incorporate all the questions that we came across during this webinar session. All right, the first question that we came across during this webinar session was, There was a provider who asked that whether this webinar will be available on our website later on, because she or he might have joined us a bit late during this webinar session. For all the providers who have joined us a bit late for this webinar session, you don't have to worry about it, because all the webinars that are conducted in MTBC so far are available on the website. So you can just log on to our website, www.mtbc.com/webinars.aspx, and similarly this webinar will also be recorded and will be available to stream on MTBC's website within the 1 week of the live broadcast. So you don't have to worry about it. All right, the next question that I came across during this webinar session was that do we need to install any new software for ICD10? The answer for that is no. It will be available on WebEHR as well as the practice management website and our mHealth applications too that we have just discussed about. All right, there are a couple of providers who are asking about to review the slides for the installation of ICD9 to ICD10 converter application on iPhone, and there's also a provider who's looking forward to review the slide for the format and structure for the ICD10 code. So we are just going to do that. Let me just handle the rest of the questions, and I'm just going to answer you for that question. If we do have time, we are just going to display the slides once more, or as I've told you, don't have to worry about anything, because this webinar will be available on our website, so you can check the link by logging on to our website. All right, there is one more provider who has asked this question, that what if you are not on EMR? That means that provider was not using our EMR. How will the ICD10 transition work? So for that, you need to be a paper Superbill user. But as I've told you, I've explained you the pros and cons for using the paper Superbills. The paper Superbill is going to be 8 to 10 pages long if you are just going to put in the ICD10 diagnosis code. But still, if you are feasible, you can just go ahead and start using the paper Superbill for the billing purpose. All right, there is one more question from the provider that we came across during this webinar session. It was whether MTBC will be assisting the clients for creating new paper Superbills for different specialties. Now, the answer for that is MTBC on our end will not be doing coding for any particular practices. We will be assisting you in submitting the paper Superbills to the insurance companies, but the MTBC won't be doing any coding stuff for any of the required practices. It will be available on the WebEHR and our practice management website as well, as I've just explained you. And if you want to use the converter applications in order to convert the ICD9 to ICD10 code, you can use our MTBC ICD9 to ICD10 converter application that is available on iPhone, Android, and even the Windows Phone as well. Now, there was a provider who came across with this question, that what is dual coding about, or what is beta testing, and how will MTBC help the practices for it? Now, let me just tell you once again, as I've just explained you, that beta testing will be initiated from the third quarter of this year, somewhere in the mid of July. And we are going to help the providers for the beta testing purpose. As I've explained you that from the beginning of the third quarter, MTBC will start beta testing with its clients and peers, and we do have certified ICD10 medical coders available here at MTBC who will be handling that. So in the same time, they will be submitting the ICD9 codes claims to the insurance companies that will go through the payment procedure. And similarly, the ICD10 codes, the claims with the ICD10 codes will also be submitted to the insurance companies, but that will just be for the beta testing phase, just in order to see whether the providers or the medical coders are putting in the correct ICD10 codes or not. All right, for all the remaining questions that we came across during this webinar session, as we do came across many questions, but due to the shortage of time, we are unable to answer all the questions at this point of time. So we will be reaching back to you by email. If you do have any other questions or any comments, you can just contact us by using ICD10 at MTBC.com. That is an email address. And you can also go ahead and log on to our website. That is www.mtbc.com/resources/ICD-10. That is just going to help you out in evaluating or monitoring MTBC's progress, that what has MTBC done so far for its providers. And last but not least, if you want to contact us by using the landline, you can do that. The number has been displayed on your screens. It is 732-873-5133. The extension for that is 308. And we have a team of ICD10 coaches who will be assisting you with all the queries that you have. Now, that's all pretty much from my end. I hope it proved out to be an informative and helpful session for all of you. I thank all of you for joining us in today's session. I wish you all a very blessed day, and goodbye from my end.